YouTube, what the crap's going on? Heir of Cathay back again. Yeah, I do kind of like Cathay in land battle. But hey, what happens when the Empire of the East beats the Empire of the West? I guess you could go further west, right? You could be thinking of Druki, but whatever. We're going to call the Empire of the West. And especially since this is Wolfheart, he starts way over in Lustria. That is very west by comparison to Cathay. I don't know. All right, I'm going to stop. Empire of the East, Empire of the West. I said it. I'm not going to justify it. All right, here we go. So we've got a nice matchup. As pretty typical with me, I've gone with the dragon-blooded Shugengen Lord. You could go with other things, but I find this thing to be pretty valuable. I have the Talons of the Night, which is going to be very nice damage, and the Ancestral Warriors, so I can do a summon. I can also do some Vortex damage. I'm playing against Dovflays, who picked Wolfheart. Right away, he's going to be picking at me with Wolfheart into my Terracotta Sentinel, so I'm going to use my crossbows to give him a clear message of, hey, Wolfheart, get the heck away from me. I don't want you killing my Sentinel. If we go take a look at the Empire army, he's got Spearmen up front, a few great swords in a second line. I say a few, there's only 2 of them, but that's a good pick. Cathay has a lot of armor. And great swords should trade very well against him with that bonus versus infantry and the armor piercing. He's got a couple of Empire Knights over here on his right flank, my left. And then he's got some crossbowmen as well. Crossbowmen, probably a pretty good pick to fire back at my own crossbows. And then he's got a Hellstorm rocket battery to force me forward so that he can try and draw me in to fight on his terms. Now, I've got a few Jade Lancers. They ought to be probably slightly better in terms of value than Empire Knights, but they're going to be a very close matchup overall. So I'm hoping that they can basically hold their own and just manage to do well. I'm going to have to go get into the fight. If I sit back, I'm going to be taking tremendous damage. It's not going to be good for me. Yeah, sorry, there's going to be a bit of a cut and change of conversation there, probably because my boys, I heard like a big crash. They apparently fell out of their bed because they were clowning around, so I had to go take care of that. In any case, the battle continues, and this is not going to be great for me up front. It's going to be difficult. I did bring a specialty unit here, which is the Luging War Compass. I've used it to put an Iranan's Thunderbolt down on that crossbowman. It caused nice damage. This has basically 4 spells, and it doesn't use Winds of Magic. It's going to be 2 uses of Thunderbolt, 2 uses of Comet. And then otherwise, it's kind of like a support unit that you can bring in. I'm going to try and use it, and I'm going to also try and use my Shugengen, but I'm busy microing a lot of spots right now, so that's why you're seeing a little bit of slowness here on my reaction in the middle, because I knew I had this fight coming on. I needed to intercept those spears, and then at the same time, I've got Demigryph Knights that were bearing down on my flank, and I'm trying to block them off using my halberds. And so in the middle, things are not great for me. However, once I start to get things under control and just start clicking some orders here, I'm going to move forward, I'm going to look for more bombardment opportunities, and I'm going to bring my Lord to bear, and I'm going to start trying to get rid of these crossbows. I'm going to have to get rid of them in order to try and get ahead in this fight. So I'm going to go ahead and summon the Ancestral Warriors here. And I'm going to bring up the Luging War Compass. You can see that I've got, I think this is a Talons of the Night whipping up here. Yep. So I'm going to basically get rid of 2 units of crossbows for the moment, and then I'm going to go pressure this Hellstorm rocket battery too. I've had enough of that. And meanwhile, now this is going to help stabilize the fight a little because I've got my Sentinel into these great swords. That'll slow them down. Unfortunately for me, Marcus is kind of free to do what he wants back here at the moment. I'm trying to get my cavalry away from that spear unit. They get kind of hung up, and then I've already got to push down my flank here to try and get a hold of my Jade Warrior crossbows. The Demigryph Knights and the Warrior Priest are kind of just pulling through my halberds and trying to get to other targets back here at the moment. I had a crossbow get damaged here as well. The fight started off really rough for me. However, I've got some opportunities to start turning it around. You can see here I put the War Compass in, and then I summoned in the Comet because that unit can't run away. So I basically bombed out a spear unit there using the compass as the trap. And then I'm able to get my Sentinel over here to basically chase off Wolfheart and the Jade Wizard as well. Did a little bit of damage to that Hellstorm rocket battery, but I had to get out of there because there was some cavalry coming in, and my Dragon-Blooded Lord is a little bit squishy, but I managed to drive off most of the Empire's background, and now I'm in, okay shape. I've still got to deal with some great swords and the Altdorf Griffites, but I managed to get quite a few crossbows alive. I've still got some cavalry alive and other units that are going to be doing some work. I've got some Jade Warriors with halberds up. I've got more magic left on my Shugengen Lord, and I've got a couple more spells that I can use on my compass, so I'm starting to feel somewhat capable here. I took my Sentinel and chased a little too much here, and it left it vulnerable to the Griffites. I did not have a Talons of the Night ready here. If I had, I could have used that Sentinel as bait, and I should have considered this early in the battle. This would be excellent bait for cavalry. Unfortunately, Wolfheart's going to net me and shoot at me here. Special ability, probably, I would think. Yeah, hitting the special ability. Yeah, there it is. Didn't do a ton, fortunately for me, but still a pain. And it's not a great engagement for my Sentinel. The Altdorf Griffites are going to get away. They were trying to, at least. I'm going to try and pin them in here with the Jade Lancer. I want them to have to stay and soak that fight up. Meanwhile, I'm cleaning up quite a bit of the Empire in the background, except for this greatsword that came back. It's being a little bit annoying at the moment, but I've got it pinned down. I've got another Jade Lancer back here. The Lancers did end up doing pretty well for me. Here comes another Ancestral Warrior. I'm going to summon this in. I'm going to use it. It immediately terror routes, I believe, that Empire Knight. And I was using it to hopefully get a hold of those Altdorf Griffites. But they started running despite being chased, and I just wasn't able to get a hold of them. So at the moment, I still have Wolfheart that I need to deal with. Still a rocket battery back here that I need to deal with. And then the crossbows came back. So I'm going to go ahead and head over here. Start dealing with the crossbows. I've got some infantry headed this way. And meanwhile, those rockets are going to be firing away back here towards my crossbows. Crossbows are the targets they should take. I managed to shatter one of the greatswords, so that was very good news for me. I definitely needed to get rid of that unit. There is still... I think there's another unit of greatswords somewhere. I don't remember exactly where they're at, but I could have sworn there was another unit of greatswords somewhere around here. But in any case, I've got... yeah, here they are. This unit of greatswords. I routed it. So I've got both greatswords routed, and I was feeling pretty confident at this point. I feel like the fight's pretty much in my hands. I got my Sentinel killed, and I was like, that's kind of a stupid move. I should have pulled him back from there towards my crossbows. But I was like, whatever. I should be in pretty good shape here. I've got magic left. I think I'd used my bombardments at this point, and they had been pretty effective, at least the ones from my War Compass. You can see it's got 92 kills. But I still had a little bit of magic left with my Lord. I saw this Empire Knight coming, and I was figuring that it wouldn't really end up getting very much done. I couldn't stop that charge. I was like, I'll just turn my other two units and fire, and then use my halberds to kill it. And it just did not die quickly like I had hoped it would. I also could have swooped my Lord in here, and probably should have immediately to help get rid of that unit. And so I'm making a bit of a miscalculation here on how much damage that Empire Knight is going to be able to get done in that fight. It's going to pull away there, and I really need these crossbows to be alive. If the crossbows are alive, I should have this, and now you can see the Altdorf Griffites charging in here. I see them. I'm going to react to them with my halberds. Again, probably should consider just dive bombing them with my Lord and then coming in with the halberds, but they can pull through and charge through some of these units, and that's exactly what they're going to do. They're just going to go YOLO for the crossbows because Dob knows what a target they are. And the Empire Knight came back from routing, and so did this greatsword. So all at once, I'm suddenly surrounded back here by Empire units. And if they kill my crossbows, this is going to end up being a mess that I may not be able to fight my way out of. So this battle looked very, very good for me, and now it's potential for me to lose it. I need to be careful with my units. I have a Jade Lancer back here. I need to use it wisely because some crossbows have come back. You can see in a couple of spots. So it'd be best if I did not waste that unit. And I've got some other units kind of strewn around the battlefield that I'll need to be regathering here. I'm going to have a difficult time killing the Jade Wizard because there's other units around that are kind of tough, like this Warrior Priest. And I'm going to have a hard time killing Marcus, too, because I just don't have something that can pump a lot of damage into him now that I lost my crossbows. He gets the Hunter's Snare on me here. Has just a little bit of ammo left, and this is going to hurt. Take some damage here. You can see that actually swung the power bar just from around half and down a little. Here comes those attacks from Wolfheart. So I'm going to end up taking a bit of a savaging from him there. And this Empire Knight, just annoyingly, I cannot get it off the battlefield. Same thing with the Altdorf Griffites. They just keep staying alive, despite ending up engaged with halberds multiple times. I just can't seem to get this unit to rout. It's just not taking a lot of damage. I don't have the yin-yang either, because my crossbows are gone now too, so I'm going to lose a significant amount of defense and attack. It's another good reason to have kept those crossbows around, so that you've got the harmony going on. Cathay relies on said harmony. This Jade Lancer, I managed to miss micro it for a moment, so another mess up for me, but it did come back from routing, and Dob has not noticed it yet. So I'm going to push forward and see what I can do to win this. I have enough magic here soon, hopefully, that I can kill that crossbow. You can see that he's chasing that unit down to make sure it doesn't come back. So I am going to attempt to repay the favor and kill his own crossbows. What I'm doing is I'm waiting for the spearmen to not be paying attention, because they're not paying attention to my Jade Lancer at the moment. So I'm just letting that unit rest out there. And as soon as I think it's safe, I'm going to come take a shot at those crossbowmen. I still have a lot of infantry left. I've got 2 halberd units in decent shape. So I was feeling like, you know, I can probably pull this off and have a chance. But I knew it was going to be tough because we got this warrior priest. He's got bombardments that he can bring down. Wolfheart's not going to be great in combat, but he's still got a lot of hit points. And then the same thing with the Jade Wizard. A lot of hit points. Fortunately for me, the warrior priest will be vulnerable to most of my infantry that's remaining. Unfortunately, it's going to have those bombardments. So that Empire Knight's getting some important work done back here. And it's at this point when Dav has committed his spears to coming forward. He didn't see these lancers, so I moved in with the lancers. I'm going to kill those crossbows before they can do any more damage to my infantry. I'm going to try and start up the final fight here. Dav is going to do a lot of work to try and avoid getting into fights, obviously with my halberds, with the wrong units. I'm going to use my peasant long spears to kind of just stop that greatsword, and then I'm going to drop a Talons of the Night on it. And I was like, all right, this ought to finish off that greatsword. I mean, look at it. It's entirely surrounded by Talons of the Night. And it got an Earthblood right at the same time. So the Talons of the Night would have basically finished it off, but the Earthblood managed to save it. So unfortunately for me, that was one of my last-ditch attempts to get rid of this unit. I do have a halberd unit in good shape, but the greatsword gets a bonus versus infantry, and my halberd, again, is not being buffed by nearby harmony units. So they have a yang harmony. There's no yin units nearby, so that leaves me in a rough spot. So I'm struggling at the moment to cut through the remainder of this Empire army. So you can see I do have the great swords wavering, but they got another Earthblood off here at just the right time, and that's enough to basically just swing this entirely against me. Didn't expect him to have that healing this late in the game, so the great swords are actually getting stronger rather than getting more dead. And without that yin and those crossbows, so I blew it with the crossbows, which ultimately is going to cost the battle. There's also a Jade Warrior out here that I just realized was still alive, which also may have cost me the battle. So this was an interesting one in the sense that I had this one won, and a couple of sloppy plays lost it for me, right? I got sloppy with the Terracotta Sentinel because I was overconfident. I got sloppy with my crossbows because I got overconfident, and it ended up costing me the battle. So when you feel like you're getting ahead, that's not a good time to pump the brakes and get risky. You got to hit the gas and accelerate. It's just like in sports world, right? When you start to get ahead on something, just go. Go all in, finish them off, because then you can end up in situations like this where, I'm not saying that I guaranteed to have won the battle, but I felt like momentum was in my favor, and that my decisions ended up throwing that momentum away. Now, that's not to say that Dav isn't a capable player. He absolutely is. We've played matches. I've won some. He's won many. So he can clearly, beat me in matches. So it's not like that's impossible either. But I'm just saying, like, I felt like this one was in my hands, and I let it slip. So I think the good lesson here is just keep paying attention to what you're doing. And like I said, when you get ahead, don't slow down with the confidence. Just go win. Take it and go win, right? So I should have, for my Lancers, I went running off after his crossbows when I didn't need to. And then my Lancers got singled out and killed. I should have just kept them back, and then I could have protected my own crossbows and won the battle with them. Same thing with my Terracotta Sentinel. There's no reason for me to go engage it at long range. I had my own crossbows and stuff. I had a way to continue defending my units while they fought with that harmony, and then I would have been able to win the battle, right? So I got ahead of myself there and ended up being bad. Great swords were indeed a good pick here. For the Empire, they caused some issues for me there in the end. The Empire Knights, this one ended up doing very well, despite having initially not gotten a great trade against my Lancers. One of my Lancers did pretty darn well here too. Sentinel did bad. My Lord did pretty darn good here because of all the magic summons, the damage that it managed to get. And then some of my crossbows were starting to do good damage before I betrayed them, sent them to their early death. Fun game from Dav. Really appreciated this one. It was fun seeing the two human factions clash here. See the great Empire of the East going up against the great Old World Empire. So I enjoyed this one. I hope you all did too. You all tell me what you think about the matchup down in the chat. Heir of Carthage, signing out for now. I'll see you all soon with some more action in Total War Warhammer 3.